You have found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, me and Pat are going to discuss AK's season-ending press conference in which he said that he understands and knows that he can't run the same team back, but he probably will. We're going to get into all that. We're also going to talk about the rumored offer that the Chicago Bulls made to DeMar DeRozan. And the Chicago Bulls, according to ESPN, are prepared to go star hunting this offseason. We're going to talk about all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I forgot about the new intro.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Pat, you know, there's sometimes where I'm sure you run into this, that you see something Bulls related, and the very first thing that you want to do is say, Haize, in your case, me saying, Pat, let's go ahead and record an episode. Because this season-ending press conference by AK, the very first thing in my mind was, oh, Pat's about to cook. I'm not even going front on you, bro. I'm watching that and I'm just like, oh, okay. Yeah, throw the alley-oop to my boy. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and throw you the alley. Pat, how'd you feel about this press conference?
A whole lot of nothing. He said nothing. He talked about nothing. I mean, I guess in the overarching scheme of thing, there was a main message. But you listen, AK, I don't know what it is about lights and cameras, but you look terrified every time somebody asks you to do an interview. Like he's worse than Gar.
Yeah,
he's worse than Gar. How are you worse than Gar?
Listen, and Gar, look, it's because usually you want balance. One thing about Gar and Pax is that at least once Pax realized, okay, hey, we can't pick Gar in front of a camera no more. He said, all right, I got you. This is keep in mind, AK is the better one on the cameras between him and Mark Eversley.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, and listen, as far as the message out there, the main message is this group hasn't worked. We can't roll the same team out there next year. Okay.
Welcome
glad,
to the party, AK.
Welcome to the party, AK. I'm glad that you finally gotten here. And I will say this. I've talked about this with my GMs. It's just very difficult to do when you're going through it. I would rather have the situation where we know something doesn't work than we get rid of something. And then all of a sudden we look over there, i.e. Larry Markkinen, Bobby Portis, Daniel Gafford. How many players can we go through that are still in the NBA that are on DJJ? I mean, listen, there's some names, half of them on the Dallas Mavericks right now, where you look over there and be like, wow, that would be really nice to have that on this team now. So I understand taking your time. I'm almost willing to have a GM that has a little bit of patience. My problem is you haven't been aggressive on anything with this core three since 2021. A lot has happened in 3 years of life. I've had a child. You haven't been aggressive since I've had a child, dog. Like,
wait, your daughter wasn't born when we signed
my daughter
Lonzo
was not born when we signed Lonzo, DeMar, and Vooch.
That's crazy.
So my issue is the complacency to make something work, right? Listen, I'm fine with you having DeMar, fine with you having Zach, fine with you having Lonzo. I was here for all of those moves. I thought they were good moves, but now we're here in 2024, and my biggest problem with AK, and it's still my problem heading into these press conferences, is there doesn't seem to be any aggression or problem solving to make anything actually work, because you can have those three players, but the excuse that Lonzo Ball went down, so we got to just wait till he comes back, is the dumbest thing I've ever heard a GM say. No, you need to address the point guard position. You did it for halves of seasons by going out and getting Pat Beverly, adding Javon Carter to this team, right? And I think even he has to Listen, this is the other thing I took away. Even he realizes how bad Javon is. Even he realizes how he effed that deal up, bro. Because he said, I have to do a better job in the offseason of giving Billy a team. I was like, shots fired, because it's not Torrey Craig.
The thing is, right, and I get what you're saying as far as that, but let's lay this out, right? Is that Lonzo went down a half into the season after you basically turned over the whole roster. You had Zach and Kobe that remained. You're not going to do a bunch that same offseason because, again, it ended up being wrong, but the Bulls were hopeful that Lonzo was going to return January that year.
Right.
You did have a young point guard in Io who had shown some ability to step in for a little bit, and I can understand that. Then this past offseason, they bet on Kobe. So I'm not necessarily knocking them for not going out and finding this huge starting level point guard, because they tried some things with some players that they drafted that, and the Kobe one ended up working. So really we're looking at one season of what they tried to do at point guard just didn't work, right? This season it worked with Kobe.
Well, because you got the first off season that you went into where maybe you felt good about Io. Then I guess I see what you say. You had last off season where you bet on Kobe. My thing is, though, when you're talking about aggressiveness, why not make changes in season? Oh, well, we don't want to get worse. What's worse?
Oh yeah, I agree with that, right?
The 11th seed, like what's worse, right? The 10th seed, like we don't want to get worse. We only want to make moves to get better. That's not a way to operate, because you're not in a position of power right now. You've got players on your team that don't want to be here. So you need to figure out, okay, how do we move on and take an L while still being able to be competitive? I don't know how AK does that, because L's that he's going to have to take are going to be massive.
True. I mean, but that's the
financially,
thing.
I should say.
Yeah, and we've said that, right? Like the inability or the fear to take a step back to take a longer term step forward is terrible. That they don't want to do here. But I mean, I guess I just don't knock them for the point guard situation as much, because listen, Kobe ended up being him, and you had one season of half through Io, and then Patrick Beverly was able to keep us afloat for a little while. But then the lack of being aggressive to a degree, yeah, there's no excuse for that. Now, you don't want to. It's easy for us to say as a fan base, like, yeah, just be aggressive. But if they would have made a deal that would have massively made us worse, and then you have worse longer term money. I again, I don't know the deals that were out there, so I can't really speak to that. But again, you tried. But the thing is that they were selling us on competitiveness. So that's the problem in this. You wanted to stay competitive. You wanted to have continuity with something that already showed you at best we're a 9th seed. That's at best what we were. And no flaws were fixed on this roster. Even if you did say, hey, we feel confident in Io, it ended up not working. You brought in Pat Bev. You felt confident in Kobe. That ended up working for you this season. Cool. We've been needing shooting. You haven't addressed that in any meaningful way for years. We know we've needed rim protection. You haven't addressed that in any meaningful way for years. We've been the thinnest at the center in the power forward spot for 3 years now in a row. And guess what? For 2 out of those 3 years, we suffered major injuries to our power forward position.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, and to the shooting aspect of it, here's my question. And I thought about this as I was looking over the roster, looking back at some of what happened this season. And I came up with this question. If these players, basically, because also we got the endorsement of Billy Donovan, so he's going to be here these next 2 years. Then at least we now know it's 2 years, right? At least
thank
we
God
know it's
for
not
Kentucky
15.
firing their coach, because we probably still wouldn't have known.
If Torrey Craig, if Javon Carter, maybe Javon is different because of the season he went through, but let's just throw him in there because he's a guy we picked up. If Patrick Williams, if Kobe White, if Zach LaVine are on different teams, do they shoot the 3-ball more? Because it seems to me that every player that assimilates himself into whatever the Chicago Bulls system is, their 3-ball, not even percentage, just attempts, fall off a cliff. And I guess most of the guys have been with the Bulls, so it's hard to say. But some of the guys coming in, right, we talked about at the beginning of the season. If Torrey Craig and Javon Carter just shoot the shots they were taking last year, the Bulls are top 5 in threes.
Yep, their career averages, because Torrey Craig's coming off an extremely hot season. But we're just talking about career averages. So and they couldn't do that. I mean, yeah, that's a fair point to ask if it's somewhat the system. So,
and that's my thing, right? Like I look at
I think there was somebody who tweeted a graphic that showed that Billy Donovan's teams over his whole in NBA, they never were really a volume 3-point shooting team. I'll see if I can find out while you're talking. Go ahead.
And I think that's my point, right? Where, okay, listen, I like Billy Donovan as I guess we have to say he's developing players, right? I know we want to like not give him credit for certain things or just say the player did it on his own, but like we have seen young guys develop under Billy Donovan. Kobe White has developed. Ayo Dosunmu has definitely taken another step forward this season. He's got to have something to do with guys like that, right? And I think we saw even Dalen Terry take a little bit of a step here defensively and IQ-wise during the season. Boom. But outside of that,
the thing that's hard to judge with that is what is developed versus what is this you did work in the offseason, now you've earned more opportunity. And we'll never know that. Yeah. So, I mean, but that's fair with every coach, right? With every coach. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, but I think, right, my problem is you're seeing young guys get better, so that's why you want to keep them around. But are you playing a modern offense? Does changing the players put you in a modern offense? These are the teams, to your point, that Billy Donovan has always had. And I know we got to get out of this segment, but think about who was the best when Kevin Durant left. Who was the next person that took threes outside of Russell Westbrook?
I don't even remember that team exactly. I can't even.
Andre Roberson.
Oh crap! You're right. I do remember.
And guess what?
What happened to Roberson? He
can't shoot.
Yeah,
he couldn't shoot. The dude outside of Russ that would shoot was Andre Roberson. This is Billy's style. It's his philosophy. It's his scheme. It's why when he became available, I was like, listen, go get the dude that's got Nia Long on his arm.
Or used to.
Yeah, used to. I mean, listen, but once you had Nia Long, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? All right, let's do an average.
I don't know. It's the way that you fumble it. But with that said, next thing we're going to be talking about
but you had to have the ball in the first place to fumble it.
There you go. Next up, we're going to be talking about a rumored offer that the Chicago Bulls may have made to DeMar DeRozan and why that does not necessarily point to the change that AK has talked about. We'll talk a little bit about that upcoming. But before we get into that, I want to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is Monopoly Go. We've all been there, either as a player or as a fan. It's halftime at the scoreboard. It's not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull out a win. Welcome to being a Chicago Bulls fan. Then you dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most richest and biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone, anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball. Charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and end tournaments to get extra rewards and climb up the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go now. Free on the App Store and Google Play. Now, I also got to talk to you guys about another one of our sponsors, and that is Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Browse through the Game Time app, find last-minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last-minute for sports, concerts, comedy, etc. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game and or event. Save even more when you choose a selection and let Game Time choose the seats. Toggling this feature allows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Every now and then, words be kicking your butt.
I know you're not talking. We are brothers for a reason. With that said, reportedly rumored, right, is that the Bulls' latest offer to DeMar DeRozan was a 2-year contract upwards of $40 million per year. Pat, when you pair that with AK saying that he understands things needs to change, how do you feel about that potential offer for DeMar? Now, we've talked before about it's either the money or the years. I think we both kind of said we were kind of more comfortable if you pay him more money and the years are less, but $40 million is a lot of money. How you
Listen, here's my thing. First off, if the money and the years are off, according to DeMar and his people, hey, y'all have fun in Memphis. $40 million a year ain't enough. Have fun in Memphis. That's all I got to say to you. Yeah, I mean, because that's where we know that's where you're going to end up. Somewhere Memphis, maybe Orlando, back to San Antonio with Wemby. Like, have fun. Yeah, I mean, as far as does that go against what AK is saying, I think the comments that AK said, which do scare me, is we can't run this version of the core back again. Changes need to be made. We all know what the change that they want to make is. It's Zach LaVine. They've wanted to get rid of Zach LaVine just about a year after he signed that deal, and it just hasn't been viable. So the changes right now is Zach LaVine. So in theory, the core would be different. You'd be fine with having DeMar DeRozan still on your team. You'd be fine with having, I guess, Vooch on your team as a starting center. From a if you're putting the landscape out right, you're talking Kobe, DeMar, Io, Vooch, or maybe Kobe, Io, DeMar, Vooch as far as your scoring order. But that would say that this version of the team is different. And I think Kobe White gives a lot of outs in a lot of this to where you can offer DeMar kind of your last minute deal and go into next season. And Bulls fans will be fine with this if you say, yeah, we may not be as competitive as we hoped we were going to be, but we're giving Kobe and Io and Patrick Williams every opportunity to prove that they are the players that they are. The fact that DeMar, the rumored offer is 2-year, $40 million, and it seems like they're still far apart there. What's he want, 50? Which is tough, right? Because you also got to take into the percentages account, right? Like,
well, the thing is,
2 years,
the most we can get is $44 million a year. So if you mean to tell me that them giving you 99%, 95% of what your max is, and you're looking at that and saying that's not enough, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, it makes a big difference, dog. Like I don't know. I think that this is the weird relationship at this point, right? Where it's like you realize that you and old girl don't work out well together, but y'all been together long enough that you don't want to change, right? You looking out there and you're like, it's Thoughts out there, it's Trollops out there, man. I don't know, man. At least I know she not with another team. You know what I mean? Like I can come home and she gonna be here.
That's crazy.
Out there, you know, it's a lot of free agents. I don't know if I want to be out there right now. That's kind of where the Bulls and DeMar are right now, because it's like, I'm giving you as much as we can offer you, and this is the bottom line. Now, this is the rumor. I don't know if this is real. I don't know if this is what DeMar is actually getting offered. We've heard some of these wild rumors of money that was thrown on the table that players have declined, but everybody just runs with what was said that the team offered him versus what actually the players saw. So I don't know if this is the case at all, but this just seems like a relationship that needs to end, and DeMar doesn't want to look bad by saying, I think I'm going to explore free agency, because I think he genuinely likes Chicago. He's comfortable here, but he wants to win. And let's be real. A team of Kobe White, Io DeSumo, even coming into next season, if they play exactly like they did this year, you're in the play-in. If they have the win percentage they had post Zach LaVine, you're in the play-in. What changes? You're still a 114, 115.7, I'll say 116 offensive to defensive rating with a net rating of -2.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think that's the question that they have to ask themselves. The Bulls, again, I get it, and I get wanting to do right by players, but sometimes you either have to do right by your players or you have to do right by trying to win. And it seems like AK, until I see otherwise, it doesn't seem like AK is focused on winning. It seems like he's focused on trying to do right by players. So, like, don't get me wrong, and I've said this before, the way that DeMar's played, he's earned another contract.
Yes.
But that doesn't necessarily mean, depending on where this team is trying to go, that he should get it. Especially if it comes to a point where you're trying to pay him $40 million for a team that fought to be in the play-in. And like you said, even if they kept the win percentage that they kept, they're still a play-in team. Yeah, you're traditionally closer to an actual playoff team by then, but you're still in the play-in tournament.
How'd the standings lay out? Because we would have been, if we started the season, we'd have been a 46 or 45.
45 is the pace that we had after December. But if we had started off the season with a better pace than 4-15, you're looking at about 46, 47 wins, which I believe still puts you in the play-in tournament.
Let me see here. 47 wins this year in the Eastern Conference. No, you'd be out of the play-in tournament. Well, kind of.
It depends, because Philly was 47.
Philly had 47 wins, so it would depend how we won. We won the matchup with the Pacers, so I guess we would have been there. Right? We beat the Pacers.
Okay.
2 of the 3 games we played them. 3 of the 4 games, whatever it was. We beat Philly twice this year. So in theory, we would have been out of the play-in, but again, doesn't change how you are offensively as a team. I guess now your matchup you'd be looking at is 6 versus 3. So hey, congratulations. Your reward is the Bucks, who have handled you mightily the entire season. So I guess maybe you feel better about it. You're moving in the right direction, but I don't know if that's enough to say we need to run it back. And I'll say this: how much does the draft pick impact it? Because there's, with the lottery protections coming up on our pick coming next season, there may be a logical case to say I'm going to run this out here with the young guys, and at least if I lose my pick, it's because Kobe and Io are the reason, and P. Will are the reason. Versus I lose my pick and DeMar's the reason.
Exactly. So
I don't know.
A lot to be said, man.
It doesn't, I guess, knowing that there's differences in AK's mindset makes it not feel like this offseason will be as bleak. But this third segment of going big star hunting better be happening if we're going to see some serious change with the Chicago Bulls as far as competitiveness. But before we talk about that, we do got to tell you guys all about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest way and most exciting way to get in on the action. When you watch your favorite sports and players, you just pick more or less on 2 or more players and watch the winnings roll in. March is over, but the biggest moments in college basketball tip off the month of April. Be a part of the action on Prize Picks with both men and women's college championships. They did not update this at all. Get in on the playoff action in the NBA. There we go. And win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to an entirely new level during basketball's postseason. Right now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, and college entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports book. All you got to do is download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks.
All right, Pat. So reportedly, according to multiple sources, the Chicago Bulls could be going star hunting this offseason. Now, names as big as Paul George are mentioned. Trae Young, even a possibility there mentioned in some of those rumors. I don't see how that makes sense for the Chicago Bulls, as well as Donovan Mitchell. Now, Pat, we know that the Bulls have no true cap space. We're technically $75 million over the salary cap, but we're $42 million below the luxury tax,
right,
which means that we can use our mid-level exception and sign players up into that amount because we know we don't like to go over the luxury tax. So for the Bulls to go star hunting, it would mean that quite a sizable trade would have to go down for the Chicago Bulls. What do you feel about the names? What do you feel about the rumors? What do you think, Pat?
I guess running through the names real quick, Donovan Mitchell makes sense to me just because One, first off, it has turned himself into an efficient player, so I'm in on Donovan Mitchell. Like the numbers he put up this season, Donovan Mitchell was always a guy that could put up big scoring numbers, but they weren't efficient. They didn't make me feel like, hey, this guy's going to be a player that can lead a good group of players a long way in the playoffs. This season, though, I thought Donovan Mitchell did a much better job, especially from the three-point line, being very, very efficient. 36% from the three-point line coming out of this season. I felt like it was on less volume as well. It wasn't him taking like 15 3-pointers. It was like, let me pick and choose my spots here. So I'd be a little bit more in on Donovan Mitchell this year than probably earlier years. But for me, the only reason it makes sense is because I think Cleveland's scared they're going to lose him for nothing. And that's the only thing that I think even favors the Bulls in the slightest. Then you got to figure out how you're going to run the team at that point, right? Are you doing a lineup that is Donovan Mitchell, Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Patrick Williams, Nikola Vucevic?
That's a weird and awkward
small.
lineup.
It's small, but not small, I guess, right? Kobe's 6'5", Donovan's 6'1", he's small, but 6'3", 6 foot.
He's 6'1".
I give him 6'1" at best. Donovan Mitchell 6'1". I think Kobe White 6'5". Ayo Dosunmu 6'5". A lot of length, though. I mean, listen, Donovan Mitchell's an AK guy. I don't know if you know this about Donovan Mitchell
because he has the wingspan. What is it? 6'10" wingspan? Yeah.
He's an AK guy. He's a Captain Carney type of guy there.
Yeah, but he doesn't use that to play any defense, so it doesn't matter.
Listen, we saw Billy Donovan get Zach LaVine, Kobe White. We saw Billy Donovan get some dudes to play some defense that we never expected to play defense. So maybe there's something there. I don't know. As far as the Trae Young name, I get it for Atlanta. Pair Zach LaVine up with DeJounte Murray. But that's putting you in a worse situation. I think you have to trade a lot of pieces to trade Trae Young. You're not just trading Zach LaVine. I think you're signing and trading DeMar DeRozan. I think that you probably are looking to trade Ayo Dosunmu at that point. I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, Pat, why would you do that? Because you now have to build a team that you're not going to get rid of Kobe White on around a guy who is legitimately he gets
there's no
moniker.
I'm sorry. There's no reason on the Chicago Bulls team to trade for Trae Young. There's no. I get you. It's not your rumor. You're talking about why you're doing the logical thing of, hey, this may be why they want to do it. But I tell you what, this Chicago Bulls team,
don't you start using logic with building this team now.
That's fair.
We're 4 years into this. There's no logic here.
That's absolutely fair. Absolutely freaking fair. I have no rebuttal for that one. This is really one of those things where you got to look at and you got to ask yourself, like, okay, AK. I want to see you try to, but don't try to move names around just by the nature of saying you're moving names. And that's what I'm a little bit worried about this, is that this team would do something like that. We're trading and finding a way to get Trae Young in here. And then we're looking at this and then we're like, wait a second. We got Trae. We got Kobe.
Yep.
No, I'm good on that. It doesn't make any logical sense. But then, like you said, we can't trust that AK may just do something different to say, bet, you see, we don't have the same team. It's like, it still doesn't make any sense, AK. You got the wrong message there, brother.
Let me try, I guess, to make some sense of it. If there's any sense to be made here. Where do the Bulls lack most?
Shooting and rim protection.
At a minimum, you got to get a rim running big. At a minimum, which is usually just dudes that are just tall and can go up and be big with Trae Young. You have to get rim protection. And no matter what Billy Donovan tries to do, he's letting the 3-ball fly. You can run whatever scheme you think you're going to run. This 3-ball is going to fly. Kobe White can play a little bit more off, but I'm not saying I'm here for it. But I guess if there's logic in it, right?
Sounds like you're a little bit in on it.
I'm not in on Trae Young. I'm the least in on of the three names. One of them is 33, and Trae Young is the one I'm least in on, just because I don't believe that there's, not that he's bad, but who's the guy opposite of him that you're going to put on the floor that's going to also be elite? Is that Kobe White? If that is, you're basically saying our backcourt is going to struggle defensively.
Yes, and you don't have, and you know what? Here's the thing. You could try to sell me on that, and maybe this is what they do in the draft. If you have a young, athletic, shot-blocking big down there that can deter because they're going to get past Kobe and Trae Young,
Yeah.
you could try to sell me on that. But with Nikola Vucevic,
man, Walker Kessler would be nice, wouldn't
he? Too bad we never had a chance to draft him, Pat. Too bad we were never in a position to draft Walker Kessler, bro.
Oh God!
Always a day late and a dollar short, Acme. Always
tick.
a day late and a dollar short.
But anyway, you were saying on the maybe they could sell you on this.
If you do something like that to where you're getting a mobile, athletic big in here to try to patrol that paint. But other than that, bro, I'm looking at this and saying, man, what are you doing here, bro?
Is that finding a way? And this will be a massive change. Maybe you have to trade Vooch somehow. I don't even know a team that's looking to go get Vooch, but maybe you have to trade him and take an L. But is there a way for you to do it where that's where you keep Andre Drummond? And that's maybe the best situation for him to stay here and I guess be the starting center on this team.
If you're still saying if they draft another young big, because you still need another young big in here.
I guess at that point, right? I don't know if you can have Adama Sanago with him. I don't think he moves fast enough. I like Adama Sanago, but I don't think he's got the. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of felt that way about Clint Capella early on too, and then he got with James Harden. I don't know,
bro. It's not as clear cut as all I'll say. I mean, maybe AK can do some things that we don't expect, and if he can, I mean, that's technically his job. So shout out to him if he's able to do it. But my standpoint is with everything with AK. Basically, at this point is you just got to show me, because right now. We can talk ourselves into the mental gymnastics that are needed to try to think that this team's going to do something, but I got to be shown it, bro. Is all I can say.
And I mean, listen, we all know the curse of Atlanta, though, right? Atlanta will never win. Yeah, I mean, like they're not going to let Atlanta win nothing. We seen the Super Bowl, we seen the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, I mean, like Atlanta not winning. We saw that team that was the best in the East, and then they met LeBron. Atlanta not winning. Yeah. So maybe getting Trae out of Atlanta changes Trae a little bit. Maybe Billy can make him a little bit more of an efficient player. I don't know. The third player that was on that list, though, Paul George. Before we get up out of here,
I like Paul George. Here's the thing: how many years is left on Paul George? Well, he's a free agent this year, isn't he?
He's a free agent, I believe.
So that means the reason why that deal would be difficult is because keep in mind, even if you work out a sign and trade for Paul George,
why would he want to come here?
Only half his base compensation level contract would count towards matching. So let's say you do a deal with Paul George and Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's contract next year is $42 million, I believe. That means even if Paul George signs a $40 million contract, only $20 million of that will count towards matching Zach LaVine's salary, which at that point the Clippers would have to add another $20 million of salary to get Zach LaVine. I just don't necessarily see that. Now, if you can find a way to flip LaVine for Paul George in some shape, form, or fashion, just by the base of that, I'm not mad at that deal. You're adding a defender, a two-way player. The question is can he stay healthy? I'm also looking at the years on that deal. If it's a 2 or 3 year deal, it's less than Zach's. Okay, maybe you can get me to buy into that. There's a double sign and trade is very rare and difficult to work out, but maybe there's a double sign and trade with DeMar and Paul George that you can work out at that point. I'm not mad at that either. It's up to AK. But so on the player, I like Paul George potentially on this team next to Kobe, next to Io. It's just how you get him here is the part of the gymnastics that I just don't see.
Do we see them do a Paul George move to try? I'm past the point where I think it's going to work at this point, but maybe, right? We're dreaming at this point with all of it. Is a Paul George deal done to try and turn Patrick Williams into something close to that, a mentor type thing, to where you get him in here working with P. Will and get P. Will maybe to that next level? Because Paul George has played the role that P. Will has played. Paul George has played the power forward role at times on the Clippers when Kawhi went down.
I mean, but he's never
And
Patrick Williams
74 games this year for Paul George.
It's never
he was
been
a little
as
healthier
athletic as Paul George. But I mean, there's enough reason to think that could be something that you try to do as well. You can give me the buy-in.
Listen, when I heard AK say, "I just wish we could have seen these last 40 games with Patrick," I was just like, it's like,
bro, they're still, and that's why I keep telling people they are still not just high. They are still really high on Patrick.
They believe in him. They believe
really high. And to their
prove
credit,
me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Exactly. I pray to God that it works. I would love nothing more than at the end of this season, or even through the midway, we're looking at it like Kobe and we're like, damn, Patrick really developed.
Prove me wrong.
You got to show me again.
Hey,
it comes down
I would love. I don't buy current players' jerseys. If Patrick Williams at any point in his career, on whatever team
you order your
he's
Andrew
on,
Reese jersey yet?
Whatever team he's on, I don't do. I got to see her on the court first. I think she's gonna be pretty dominant. But I don't buy nobody Modern's jersey. I buy all Hall of Famers jersey. You know why? They already good.
They are. Yeah, you never have to look at it and be like, I really spent money on this.
I don't got a question. It's some dude. I saw him getting the stitches taken out of his Justin Fields jersey to make it a Caleb Williams jersey. That's because he didn't want to spend another $200 on a jersey.
And now he has to go make it a Jalen Johnson jersey.
Oh, dang it. Well, no, you just add the 3. You just add the 3. You move the 1 over, add the 3. But anyway, my point is, whatever team P. Will's on, if he ever averages, I give a cat. If he ever averages 20 plus, I'll buy a Patrick Williams jersey.
See, listen, I don't even need Patrick Williams. I'm cool with Patrick Williams averaging. You give me 12 to 16 with the defense that he brings and 6 rebounds and 3 or 4 assists. I'm good with that. I'm never on this Patrick Williams needs to be a 20 plus per game scorer. I just need you to just be consistent at what the freak you. I'm sorry. I almost thought I was on Central there for a second. I just need you to be consistent in what you do. That's it.
Well, that's because you've moved past the fact that he's a 4th pick in the draft.
Oh, yeah, I've moved past that a year ago.
Bro. Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. I don't think AK has. When I hear AK talk, I think AK's still like, he's the 4th pick in the draft. It's going to happen. So when I hear that, I'm like, I bet. If at any point he averages 20,
I believe more in Ayo Dosunmu and Julian Phillips' long-term prospects as far as them being higher on a tier list of a team than what I think. I just look at Patrick Williams like, I just need you to be really, really slightly above average role player. And that's all I can see for Patrick.
This may get clipped up and I may be proven wrong in years to come, but I hope I am. I believe Adama Sanago has a better chance of being a 20-10 player than Patrick Williams has.
Oh yeah, 20-10
of being an impactful player on the Chicago Bulls.
Now, what do you judge by it? Because technically he can be an impactful player, but just having great defense. Not even
consistent. Listen, great defense means that you're making things hard on guys every night. I watched them go up against. I've watched Jimmy Butler go up against Kawhi. I watched Jimmy Butler go up against LeBron. That's great defense for me. I've watched Patrick Williams go up against them same dudes. It looked pretty easy. It looks pretty like you can't be a great defender on the backup small forward, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Now, to his credit, LeBron has talked very positively about Patrick Williams.
100%, but he also put up 35 that night.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, listen, I'm past it. So my thing, Nick gonna kill us for this episode, but it's the end of the season episode. It is what it is. But my thing is, I have more faith that Adama Sanago can walk on the court next season, and we're going to be sitting there looking like we absolutely need to give him more minutes than Patrick Williams night in and night out, giving me great defense, 15 points, and 5 rebounds. Give me 5 rebounds. You're 6'8". Reach up. Oh, I'm so glad we didn't have to watch them versus the Boston Celtics today. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. We'll shorten the next episode up for you, Nick. How about that?
You guys can follow me at CEO Haize. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. We are free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube and the Odyssey app. For Pat, the designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Don't kill us, Nick.
It is what it is.